You're listening to We Resolve to Win, the podcast for women who have resolve by women who seek to resolve conflict in their personal and professional lives and desire to negotiate no matter what. I'm your host, Elizabeth Go, a lawyer, conflict resolution expert, and negotiation coach dedicated to helping women resolve conflict at work, strengthen their relationships, and negotiate with confidence. Ladies, let's go and be great. Hey everyone, welcome back to the We Resolve to Win podcast. I know, you're like, where have you been? Listen, 2020 said to me, the Lannisters send their regards. This year has been a year that I have been walking through and just holding on to my edges the whole entire time. So I can't get a podcast out to you every single week, but I'm hoping that you are enjoying the podcast. When I do release the episodes, I hope that you are sharing them. I hope that you are laughing with me, enjoying, learning, and just getting into the content in a way that you find edifying for your life. So if this is your very first episode, my name is Elizabeth Go, and I am someone that loves to help women, Black women like myself, resolve conflict in their lives, negotiate as much as possible, and just walk in peace. And what that looks like sometimes is the ability to communicate better, the ability to manage your emotions, the ability to just really get the clarity that you need in so many different aspects and corner of your life. So I want to talk to you guys about the LisaRaye on Iyanla's Fix My Life episode. I just watched the episode and I was just like, what is going on in this episode? So let me give you a little background on why I love watching Iyanla Fix My Life. If you're not familiar with that show, let me tell you about it. So Fix My Life is a show that is dedicated to helping individuals that are interested in gaining the tools and the skills that they need to resolve certain issues, a number of issues, specific issues, but issues in general as it relates to their relationship with their family members, their romantic relationships, etc. Guests are invited onto the show, and Iyanla basically walks them through a different process depending on what they are struggling with or what particular issue that they may have that needs to be addressed so that they can be more successful in their relationships. She talks a lot about accountability. She talks a lot about boundaries. She talks a lot about a number of different things. And in the more recent seasons, they're now in season 10, in the more recent seasons, she now has a number of celebrities that come on, because we know that even though celebrities are covered in glitz and glamour, these individuals are still human beings. They're still dealing with matters of the heart. They're still dealing with relational woes. They are human. So this is the 10th season of Iyanla Fix My Life, and I am a fan of Iyanla. I know a lot of people are like, she's not a therapist, and why doesn't she just say that she's a life coach? That's what she says. She says that she's a life coach. I think she specifically says that she's a spiritual life coach, but she says that she's a life coach. But she has a team of people that are therapists, that are PhD, well-trained, well-developed individuals that help in the background. And so when you're watching the show, what you get is a quick 45-minute glimpse, but what you don't know is that there's a whole entire process with booking the individuals, making sure that the individuals can pass psychological tests to actually be on TV, making sure that they are working while they're actually on set with individuals who are professionals, who are therapists, who are within the mental health and the mental health field, and that they're getting the tools that they need. So these people typically go on a casting call, if you will, and they go on set for 2 to 3 days, but they're getting work for 2 to 3 days, intensive work for 8 to 12 hours, and then they move forward they walk in peace in their destiny. But what we receive, again, is we receive a 45-minute clip, quick glimpse. And as a result of that, many people don't think that the tools are effective, etc. Trust me, the tools are effective. How do I know this? Because your girl got casted one time. But that's another story for another day. We are not going to get into that. We are going to get into this episode with LisaRaye. So LisaRaye brought in her mother, and her daughter. And essentially, we're talking about 3 generations of women. These women are absolutely beautiful. They're gorgeous women. And these beautiful women are basically 3 generations of the same woman. It literally is the same issues, the same concerns, the same behavioral patterns, literally from grandmama, we're going to call her grandmama, which is Katie, LisaRaye, who is, we know her to be LisaRaye, the celebrity LisaRaye, and then her daughter, who is Kai. And essentially, the way this episode starts out is that we learn very early on that Katie, the grandma, she comes out and she basically says, since Lisa got to LA, we lost all of the connection. So the first thing that triggered in my mind was, okay, so grandma feels perhaps lonely. Grandma perhaps maybe she feels that her relationship with Lisa has been impacted by Lisa's career. There is something there. Unfortunately, they don't get too deep into whether or not grandma misses her relationship or the relationship actually pivoted once Lisa's career began to take off. But that's one of the very first things that Grandma Katie said that we were privy to. So when she said that, I thought to myself, okay, that's interesting. We can go ahead and stick a pin in that. When Lisa begins to talk, Lisa reveals that they're all living together on a temporary basis, which we know that when you live with family, things can get very strained very quickly. You start to wonder whether or not this person is respecting you in your own home. If it is not your home and you are a guest, you may feel as though you are being controlled. You may feel as though you don't have the freedom that you want. There are a whole host of issues when family members live together, particularly when they don't have the skills to communicate and they don't have the skills to resolve conflict. That is the reason why conflict resolution and conflict management skills are so important. And that is the reason why I'm hoping that you find that this podcast is a good resource. So Lisa reveals that they are living together, and I'm just sitting here like, oh no, grandma in the house, daughter's in the house, Lisa's in the house, the daughter has a brand new baby. So it's literally 4 generations of women in one house. That's a lot. Even if you have a huge house, if so-and-so live in the west wing and so-and-so live in the east wing, that's still a lot to manage. A lot of women under one roof. That's a lot of feminine energy, and it could be a bit much. So Auntie I, by the way, I call Iyanla Auntie I. Auntie I asked this question, which I love when she asked this question. This is actually a question that I started doing this about 5 years ago, and I still do it today. I ask this question whenever I'm in a conversation with someone, and I encourage other people to ask this question because when Auntie I asks, you can always quickly discover based on the response. The question that she asks is, what did you hear her say? What did you hear her say? So after Lisa provided all this information about them living together, and then grandma, her mother, responded, she asked Lisa, Auntie I asked Lisa, what did you hear her say? And she was like, she doesn't like what I do. Grandmama did not say anything about what she does. Grandmama did not say anything about her career, specifically about her not liking her career. Grandmama did not say anything to that extent. So I was like, Lisa, houseway, she didn't even say nothing like that. Like, where did you pick up that? That is how listening skills come into play when you're communicating and when you're resolving conflict. That is the reason why you should always ask that question. What did you hear me say? I use that question with my husband. My husband used that question with me. I use that question with my kids. After having a discussion with family members, I always want to make sure that everyone's on the same page, because if I say something and you take it the wrong way, it's going to go left real quick, because I want to know that you understood me, and likewise, you want to make sure that it's mutual, that I understood you and you understood me. So the question is, what did you hear me say? So, child, they get into it and they start talking, and it is quick, in my opinion, it's quickly revealed that grandmama is angry. She starts pointing the finger at everyone. She is not accountable. She is still bitter about her husband. You can tell there is some deep bitterness about her husband, which is Lisa's father, some deep bitterness. Apparently, Lisa's father would go and cheat on Lisa's mother. He had multiple women. He would basically cheat quite regularly throughout the whole entire marriage. And her father actually passed away. He was shot by his girlfriend. So when Grandmama talks about her marriage, when she talks about her relationship with Lisa's father, you can tell that there's a lot of anger and hurt there because she is incredibly bitter. So we're 10 minutes into this episode, and here come Auntie I in a white moo-moo. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute now. Hold on, wait. She's walking up the stairs in this long white moo-moo, her head tied up in a do-rag. And I'm just like, oh, hell, she about to go in. She is about to go in. Because I've never, and trust me, I've seen, if not every single episode, 99% of the episodes, I have never seen her pull up, except for one time. But that was when she was with a group of elders. I've never seen her pull up in a white moo-moo in the midst, on day one, in the midst of the process that she walks people through. So she pull up in this white moo-moo with her head tied up, and she sits down and she starts humming Wade in the Water. And I'm just holding on to my Negro spiritual pearls because I'm just like, what is going on in this episode? What is happening? Like, she is just humming and I'm just swaying back, and just naturally I just start swaying back and forth like, okay, we going in today. We swing. So I'm swaying. Lisa is looking around like, what the hell's going on? Lisa's looking crazy in the face, and her daughter begins to cry, and she's looking at her daughter like, what the hell you crying up? What you sitting up here crying for? And her daughter is just like, I don't understand why we have these issues. Like, I don't understand why we have these issues. So let's park it here with the daughter. So the daughter, who is Kai, the daughter keeps saying regularly, I'm a very nonchalant person. I'm a very nonchalant person. So when Auntie I takes the daughter and they have their separate conversation, she again reiterates that point about her being a nonchalant person. And what I love what Iyanla said, which is very true, that when people use that title, they dress it up as being nonchalant. In reality, it's that they're numb. They have numbed themselves. So in talking to Kai, we discover that Kai had a number of behavioral issues when she was a teenager. So as Lisa's career was progressing and she was becoming a more well-known actress, Kai began to have some behavioral issues. And as a result of that, Lisa sent her away. She sent her away at one point when she was much younger, and she doesn't know, she being Kai didn't know why she got sent away. She remembered the second time why she got sent away and where she got sent to. So she got sent to I guess you would say like a boarding school or some type of behavioral camp in Iowa in the middle of nowhere. And Auntie I had basically asked her a number of times, just allow yourself to experience the emotion. And you can see that she's actually not in touch with her emotions. And I've seen this before. I've seen it where some people have been so hurt for such a long time that they have adjusted themselves and essentially become so acclimated to being numb that it's hard for them to even truly express the pain that they experience, even as they're reliving that pain. So as they're talking about that experience, they don't even fully tap into the emotion. So I found that quite confusing at first, because she was just collectively with all four of them crying, saying that she couldn't understand, as the Wade in the Water humming was going on with a full beat face. She just was crying. And I was just like, well, wait a minute. She was just crying and saying that she couldn't understand why they had these issues. But when Iyanla would ask her, how did it make you feel? Is it that you missed your mom, that your mom was away? And she was just like, no, it's not that I missed my mom. I'm not exactly sure. I've just always been this way.
If you're listening to this podcast, chances are that you love podcasts, and chances are that you have something to share with the world. So why not create your own podcast? Anchor is the easiest way to get started with your podcast. It's how I got started, and honestly, I love it. And I literally mean that. Here are 3 reasons why you should use Anchor. 1, it's absolutely free. You simply download the app in the App Store or Google Play. 2, Anchor will distribute your podcast to different platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And those are just 3 of the many different platforms that Anchor does all the heavy lifting for you. And 3, you can make money from your podcast even if you don't have many people listening, or you feel that you have a very low listenership. It's okay. You can still make money. When I first got started, I was able to join the Anchor private Facebook group, and I learned so much from this large community of other podcasters. You know how I'm big into community, and you know how it makes a world of difference. So download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm and get started. You won't regret it. Thanks so much, you guys.
So there's definitely an opportunity for her to grow and to develop and to really figure out why is it that she is quote unquote that way. And to be honest with you, I don't think any human being is born emotionally numb. I can imagine someone saying, you know, I'm not a hyper responsive person. That is different from saying I am a nonchalant, aka numb person. So I found that to be very interesting as well. When Auntie I was talking to Grandmama, Auntie I basically told her that she's bitter. She essentially explained to her directly and indirectly that she is ruling and she is having a relationship with her granddaughter and her daughter LisaRaye through emotional violence. And Grandmama was not trying to hear it. So when Auntie I was talking to Grandmama was like, no, I do not accept that. When Auntie I was talking to Kai, same thing. No, I'm never going to fall on my face. Absolutely not. That is not the case. When Auntie I had a chance to sit down with Lisa and ask her, do you recognize that your daughter is broken? Do you understand why she is broken? Lisa was completely dumbfounded by the question, and she was just like, no, I have no idea. And then as Iyanla began to talk to her and make recommendations and give her suggestions, it was the same exact response. No, not going to do that. So what we're seeing in this situation is literally generational pathologies, to where the behavior that Grandmama has exhibited, Lisa has picked up, Kai, Lisa's daughter, has picked up, and we're seeing the bouncing ball go down the generations. And obviously Kai, well, maybe I didn't mention this, Kai also has a daughter, a young baby, who at this point we know that Grandmama has one daughter, which is Lisa. Lisa has one daughter, which is Kai. Kai has one daughter. So every single one of them has one single child, which is also a girl, which is a woman. And it's so interesting to me that as we're seeing, as the episode is moving along, we're seeing like, okay, we're seeing a lot of the same behavior. So it made me pause, because what I love about this show is that you're able to pause and reflect to yourself like, do I take on that behavior? Do I do those sorts of things? Do I know someone who takes on that behavior? Because I will tell you this, as Grandmama was shaking her head and looking like she was ready to jump across the room and tear Lisa up from top to bottom, I was like, I got a lot of aunties like that. Not a lot, all of my aunties are like that. I'm pretty sure that I've seen that behavior not just in my aunties, but also in their daughters. Not communicating very well, not resolving conflict, holding on to stuff from like 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, trust me, I've got some stories. But my point is that when you are watching this episode, if you've already seen it, let me know. If you think this review and assessment is correct, share it, the episode. But what you should do, whether you are watching a new episode, an old episode, an episode with a celebrity, or an episode with a regular schmegler person like me, what you want to do is you want to ask yourself questions, because you want to take it as a learning opportunity. It's edutainment. You want to be educated and entertained at the same time, and hopefully edified in the process of you watching and kind of discovering a couple of things on your own. So after Auntie I done snatched our pearls and she met with the three women individually, she brought them all together again and essentially said, we're going to have to thug it out. And I was just like, oh no, not thug it out. We're not doing this. So listen, Auntie I said, I'm not playing with y'all season 10. This is my last season. I'm no holds bar. I'm going to let you know what it is. She said, we're going to go ahead and thug it out. So the next day, which is day 2, they basically sit down over breakfast and they're having tea as they begin to spill the tea. Iyanla walks them through this exercise, and that's another thing that I love about this show. There are all these different exercises that I think is so important for people to have a chance to be reflective. It's one thing to sit down and talk to someone and say, this is what I think. It's another thing to have them through some type of learning process, use different tools, tap into them writing, tap into them speaking, tap into them standing up, physically using their body if they're able. That is an excellent way of learning. So let's get into day 2. So we get into day 2 and they're sitting down, they're having tea, and through this exercise, they basically can answer a yes or a no. And as Iyanla is asking each and every one of them, they are being very honest. And I just thought that this was just such a prime opportunity for them to just get on the same page, understand, hear each other clearly, and take accountability. Because a couple of things that we have noticed, some of the themes that got picked up really quick in this episode from before the white moo-moo came on, was the lack of accountability from all three of them. The fact that there are no boundaries between them, because again, as I mentioned, they all live in the same house. And when you're living with family members, if you are not communicating, if you're not setting up boundaries, if you're not reinforcing boundaries, and if you are not managing conflict, you will not only lose your edges, you will be packing your stuff quickly and the relationship will be damaged. Trust me, I have been there. It's so important. So on day 2, we're sitting there, we're going through this exercise, and I'm just like loving Olive Kai, who's the daughter. I'm loving Kai's edges. She laid those baby hairs down, and I'm just like, who did her baby hairs and what kind of edge control is she using? But let's get back into it. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, okay, there's a lot of accountability coming up. Okay, we're talking about it. And then suddenly it goes left real quick because they again talk about the father. It is very clear and very evident, and it's very explicit because it said that Lisa favored her father, and that Lisa's father had a very unique relationship with Lisa because he spoiled her, and it's very evident that he manipulated not just Lisa but also manipulated his wife, Lisa's mother. So grandmama starts popping off and going in yet again, and she's just like, the truth ain't in you. You went and stayed with his woman, and I couldn't believe that you would do that. And she's just going in, and Lisa's saying like, what you want me to do, mama? I can't read, just going in. I'm just like, what? Please, somebody, please make it make sense. Again, the past hurts and the past pains from the marriage is impacting the relationship that Lisa has with her mother. So they're going back and forth, and it finally settles down to the point where Iyanla can explain to them and help them understand that both of them were emotionally manipulated and pit against each other by this father. And it's so interesting to me because what I found to be, I really did find this to be the most interesting part of the show, was when Lisa recognized, they never said this, but I know this to be the case, and I'll explain why. Lisa recognized that perhaps the narrative that she's been telling herself about her father has not been a true narrative. It has not been truthful. So when you begin to recognize and be truthful about a person that has passed, often you will find yourself either in denial or you'll find yourself grappling with the situation in front of you. I know this to be the case. My father passed away 3 years ago, and when my father passed away, as is the case with many young girls who lose their fathers, or many people who lose someone that they really love in their lives, you only remember the positive things about that person. You want to remember them in an amazing light. You want to remember them for all the great things they've done. You never want to speak negatively about them. You want to remember them in a way that is warming, and it's a narrative that you build. And so when you're talking about the person that has passed to other individuals, you speak about them in such high regard, And in that moment when Lisa understood that her father essentially manipulated her. He spoiled her, he manipulated her, possibly controlled her with money because they had a family business and they did very well for themselves. You can tell that there was an awakening for her. And she really responded to it, and she responded to it in an emotional way. She really had a moment where she was crying quite heavily at the kitchen table, at the dining, what it was sitting at. at the table where they were having tea, it was a moment of recognition. And I think that is so important. So my advice on that bit to you, the listener, is that if you have a relationship with someone, you want to make sure that you're very clear to be very honest about that relationship and very honest about that person. The reason is that if you turn a blind eye to the behaviors that are poor behaviors of that person, not only are you not holding that person accountable, you are beginning to create a practice for yourself that you will walk through, to which you are not holding yourself accountable about, that you will not hold yourself accountable as well. So it's so important that you are honest. It's important that you're honest with yourself. It is important that you're honest with your relationships. It's important that you're honest in your relationships. And it's also important, like, you can still love someone. You can still admire and love someone and hold them accountable. You can still admire and love your relationship with that individual and hold them accountable. But in order to do so, you have to walk in truth. And you have to call it out. You have to call a thing, and you have to walk in truth. So after all of that back and forth, we get to the point where we see this beautiful white throne chair. And Iyanla essentially says that what she wanted to do at the end of this very emotional, lengthy process, that she wanted to sit down each and every single one of them on this throne and crown them. But she recognized that she wouldn't be able to do that because she said, y'all are not willing to change. Every single suggestion that I've made, every single recognition, y'all have said no, you have turned it down. And it's true. When a person is not willing to change, if a person is not willing to be a true participant and recognize that there needs to be some changes within themselves, that they need to walk some things out, that they need to fix some things, then they can't fix their heart issues. They can't fix the relational issues that they have. It's going to all be surface level and it's all going to eventually collapse. You don't want to build a house of cards when you are developing and trying to reestablish a relationship. So I'm sitting there like, so I guess they're just not going to sit in this chair at all. They're not going to sit in this chair. Iyanla, Auntie I asked each and every single one of them what they've learned, and Grandmama is just, you know, she can barely even make eye contact with Lisa. Iyanla said she's processing. That was what Iyanla's opinion was. I was like, I don't know. I think Grandmama is still low-key angry about a lot of things that have happened, and she probably was low-key angry that she wasn't able to put Lisa's feet to the fire. Maybe she anticipated and expected that throughout this whole entire thing, that she would be able to read Lisa for filth, and that Lisa would be able to say, you know what, I recognize that I was wrong. I should have chosen you and not chosen my father. And that did not happen. Grandmama was held accountable. Lisa was held accountable. Kai was held accountable. They fought it, but Iyanla was like, I'm not here to play games with y'all. This is what it is. And because of that, they did not sit on the throne and they were not crowned. I really hope that they're able to work it out. Through the rolling credits, we discovered that Kai said that she's committed to moving out in a year. I highly doubt that will happen. And let me explain why. Because I thought Kai, as beautiful as she is with her perfectly laid baby hairs, I thought she was like maybe 19, 20 years old, maybe 20. She's 30. She's a grown woman. I was like, oh, she's 30. She a big woman. She grown. So as somebody who has probably never lived on her own except when she was pushed away, as someone who has always been dependent on her mother financially, as someone who is not working and does not yet have direction of where she wants to go and how she wants to walk through life as a woman, it is very difficult for me to believe that Kai would be in a place mentally and emotionally to physically move herself out of her mother's house. I wish her the best, and I would love for her to do that. I think it'll be good for her personal growth and development. I just don't see it happening. But time will tell. There might be a reunion. We shall see. They hinted at maybe perhaps there could be some sort of reunion. But Y'all, that was the episode. I thought the episode was great. I think it was wonderful that Iyanla was able to talk about accountability, talk about boundaries, talk about control, and essentially help these three beautiful women really sort through the generational issues that exist and how they can walk through with the tools that they've been given to make sure that they are bettering themselves individually and bettering themselves collectively as a community. So that is my review on the episode. Let me know what you guys think. Send me a tweet. Send me a screen grab. You know, I always ask you, send me a screen grab that you're listening to this episode. And if you like it, share it with a friend and let me know what you are looking for as it relates to more content on this podcast. So I wish you guys well. I hope that you guys are continuing to walk out life in the best way that you can. Continue to flex your courage muscle. Continue to learn how to communicate. Continue to manage your emotional intelligence and grow in that area as well. And continue to gain the skills that you need so that you can manage conflict in all areas of your life. I wish you well, and I look forward to speaking with you on the next one. Take care.
Thanks for joining me on this week's episode of We Resolve to Win. But don't worry, the fun doesn't stop there. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at We Resolve to Win. And you can join our free private Facebook group where we share success stories and strategies on negotiating and resolving conflict in all areas of your life. Until next time, be well.